Thank you. I'm told that Administrator Bisignano is not going to answer any questions related to the Social Security Administration while he's here before this committee. That doesn't seem like a great rule. I don't know if the chair has approved that refusal to answer questions on that subject.
Well, this is an IRS hearing, not a Social Security hearing.
And does that mean that we don't get to ask questions about Social Security Administration?
Oh, you can ask whatever questions you want. I leave it up to the CEO as to what he will answer.
Will you answer?
If you want to ask me a question.
No question.
I'm sorry?
That is a yes or no question. Will you answer?
I want to hear the question. I'll answer. I'll definitely answer.
Okay, good.
I'll definitely answer.
It's pretty simple. You and I have talked before about this subject, and that is protecting the data of the Social Security Administration. When we first spoke and we had the hearing here, you said you'd do a complete review of the extent to which what I call the DOGE Boys had gone in and exfiltrated data from the Social Security Administration. And you then reported back that it looked like there had been no problem, that the data was sound. Since then, there have been multiple reports of DOGE Boy people having removed potentially significant amounts of data from the death list and others and exfiltrated them when they left to provide as an asset to private sector employers and so forth. Would you like to update us on what your review has shown?
Yeah, that review's been fully put in front of the ranking member and the chairman's staff, and been.
The discussion shifts to the security of Social Security Administration data. Senator Whitehouse questions whether sensitive information was exfiltrated by outside groups, while Mr. Bisignano maintains that their internal review shows no evidence of data leaving the system.
And been reviewed with them.
And what can you assure us about what Social Security data has been exfiltrated?
We've been very clear about we don't see any data that left the House.
You don't see any data that left the House?
Oh,
okay. The number of new exams, audits for taxpayers in very, very, very high income categories, like above $10 million in income, has dropped by 9%, and I believe it's scheduled to drop by another 30%. I go back to the days when the majority of the IRS's enforcement effort was in states like Mississippi, going after the poorest people. And I thought that one of the good things that we did on a bipartisan basis was to refocus the IRS audit on the people who are most likely to be tax cheats, which is people who have enormous resources and the ability to deploy complex tax cheat strategies.
Senator Whitehouse raises concerns about the decline in audits for high-income individuals. He argues that IRS enforcement should focus on those with the resources to execute complex tax evasion strategies rather than targeting the poorest taxpayers.
What is up with the reduction in interest in auditing very rich people and the reduction in actual audits of very rich people?
Well, there's, first of all, this year, collections and enforcement is up 12%, and this is year to date. As I said earlier, we've had over $2 billion in the top 5 audits that we collected on, and we'll go after every bad actor. We're not, there's no bias to any of it. It's every bad actor. You're not going to have the type of revenue we have coming in from enforcement if you're not collecting from highly compensated people and bad actors. So, I mean, I think that this year's numbers will prove itself out.
So what explains that, for instance, the large business and international division lost 19% of its staff, and has that affected audits in the large business and international
No,
division?
I think what our head of enforcement would say and our head of CI would say is their ability to use technology has completely gotten them reaching out to more. Now,
Addressing the 19% staff reduction in the international division, Mr. Bisignano claims that technology and AI are allowing the IRS to be more efficient. He suggests that the right number of staff is defined by the ability of new systems to maintain high enforcement levels.
Not less. I don't think that the metric anyone ever had that said it was the right number of staff, and I'm going to always ensure that we have the right number of staff to get every job done we need.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think it might behoove the committee to have a kind of technical session on looking at how the IRS is implementing new AI and data systems in order to overcome what seems to be very dramatic reductions in workforce dedicated to audit. I hear the point that the administrator is making, but I think it would be helpful if we sat down at some point with some of the folks from the IRS to have it explained to us how that's actually playing out in practice. Because if what is happening is that less resources are being sent to large businesses, large corporations, international schemes, and super high-end individuals for audit, then the results are kind of predictable. They'll get off scot-free the way they often do.
I think your suggestion of getting that information is very good. Now, whether that means we'd have another session and have a committee meeting on it, or whether we get the data and get the information.
Yeah, either way, I think would just be a useful thing for us to do as AI enters the IRS enforcement landscape.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of information that gives answers to that, so I think we can get that information.
In his closing remarks, Senator Whitehouse calls for a technical session to monitor how AI is replacing human auditors. He warns that a lack of resources dedicated to large corporations and high-end individuals will lead to a predictable and negative impact on tax collection.
I think that'd be very helpful. I appreciate it, Chairman. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Administrator.
Thank you.
Senator.